Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another peaceful journey through the fascinating world around us. Tonight, we're diving into 100 incredible things you never knew you wanted to know, starting with the secret life of colors that surround you every single day. Over the next few hours, we'll explore amazing facts about your brain, your body, the science of dreams, and so many other mysteries that will gently accompany you as you drift off to sleep. Each topic is designed to be interesting enough to capture your curiosity, but calm enough to help you relax. Before we begin, I'm curious. Where in the world are you watching this from tonight? Drop a comment with your city and country. I love seeing our global community come together for these peaceful moments of discovery. Now, let's begin with something you see every moment of every day, but probably never truly understood. Colors. Colors aren't just visual experiences. They're invisible forces that shape your entire world in ways you never imagined. Let's dive into the hidden secrets of color that will change how you see everything around you. Did you know that the color pink doesn't actually exist in the rainbow? Pink is what scientists call a non-spectral color. It's created by your brain when it processes red and violet light together. But there's no single wavelength of light that creates pink. Your mind is literally inventing this color. The ancient Greeks and Romans had no word for the color blue. Homer described the ocean as wine dark, and scholars believe that many ancient civilizations simply couldn't perceive blue the way we do. The ability to see and name colors actually developed gradually throughout human history. Your favorite color might be determined by your birth season. People born in warmer months tend to prefer warmer colors like red and orange, while those born in cooler months gravitate toward blues and greens. This unconscious preference shapes everything from the clothes you buy to the rooms you feel comfortable in. Red cars get pulled over for speeding more than any other color. But it's not because police target them. It's because people who choose red cars tend to be more risk-taking and aggressive drivers. The color choice reflects personality, and personality affects behavior. The color blue suppresses appetite, which is why you'll almost never see blue food in nature. Our ancestors learned to avoid blue foods because they were usually poisonous or spoiled. This ancient programming still affects us today. Restaurants avoid blue lighting and decor because it makes people eat less. 2. Why your brain tricks you. Every day, your brain is constantly lying to you, and you don't even know it. Every single day, your mind creates elaborate illusions that shape your reality in fascinating ways. When you look around right now, you think you're seeing everything clearly, but you're actually blind for about 40 minutes every day. Every time your eyes move, which happens about 3 to 4 times per second, your brain shuts off visual processing to prevent motion blur. These tiny blind moments are seamlessly edited out of your conscious experience. Your brain literally fills in details that aren't there. You have a blind spot in each eye where your optic nerve connects, but you never notice it because your brain invents visual information to fill the gap. It's so convincing that you'll swear you can see things that simply aren't being detected by your eyes. False memories feel exactly like real ones. Your brain doesn't store memories like a video recorder. It reconstructs them each time you remember. Every time you recall something, you slightly change it, adding new details or emotions from your current state. That vivid childhood memory you're certain about. It might be partially or completely fabricated. You make about 35,000 decisions every day, but you're only consciously aware of a tiny fraction of them. Your brain automates most choices to save energy. What route to take, which shoe to put on first, how to hold your coffee cup. This autopilot mode is so efficient that you can drive home and not remember the journey. The planning fallacy affects almost everyone. You consistently underestimate how long tasks will take, even when you've done similar tasks before. Your brain focuses on the best-case scenario and ignores potential obstacles. This is why every project, from cleaning your room to major construction, takes longer than expected. 3. The hidden mathematics of everyday life. Mathematics isn't just numbers on a page. It's the secret language that governs everything around you, from the coffee in your cup to the way you walk. The Fibonacci sequence appears everywhere in nature. This simple pattern, where each number is the sum of the two before it, shows up in flower petals, pine cones, shells, and galaxies. Your body follows this sequence too. You have 5 fingers, 8 knuckles, and 13 joints in each hand. Even your face follows Fibonacci proportions. The most attractive faces match these mathematical ratios. Every time you pour cream into coffee, you're witnessing chaos theory in action. The swirling patterns are so sensitive to initial conditions that you could never recreate the exact same pattern twice, even if you tried for 1,000,000 years. This same mathematical principle explains why weather prediction beyond 2 weeks is impossible. Your walking pattern is a mathematical marvel. When you walk, you're constantly solving complex differential equations in your head, calculating balance, momentum, and trajectory adjustments in real time. Your brain processes thousands of mathematical computations per second just to keep you upright and moving forward. The spacing of cities follows mathematical laws. There's an optimal distance between settlements that maximizes trade while minimizing competition, and cities naturally organize themselves according to these mathematical principles. This is why you'll find similar spacing patterns between cities all over the world, regardless of culture or geography. Prime numbers might seem abstract, but they protect your digital life. Every time you make an online purchase or send a private message, prime numbers keep your information secure. The difficulty of factoring large prime numbers is what makes modern encryption unbreakable, at least for now. 4. Secrets your body keeps from you. Your body is running millions of processes right now that you know nothing about. It's keeping secrets from you that would amaze you if you knew what was really happening beneath the surface. You produce about 1.5 liters of saliva every day, enough to fill 2 water bottles. But saliva isn't just spit. It contains proteins that are more effective painkillers than morphine. When you lick a wound, you're literally applying natural medicine that's more powerful than most drugs. Your stomach completely replaces its lining every 3 to 5 days, because stomach acid is so strong it would dissolve metal. The same acid that digests your food could burn through a razor blade, yet your stomach protects itself by constantly regenerating its protective barrier faster than the acid can damage it. You're taller in the morning than at night. Throughout the day, gravity compresses your spine, making you up to 2 centimeters shorter by bedtime. While you sleep, your spine decompresses and you regain your full height. This daily height cycle affects everything from how clothes fit to your athletic performance. Your heart creates its own electrical system and can beat outside your body. Unlike other muscles that need signals from your nervous system, your heart generates its own rhythm through specialized cells that act like biological pacemakers. This is why a heart can continue beating during surgery or even in a lab dish. You have a second brain in your gut with more neurons than a dog's entire brain. This enteric nervous system controls digestion independently and produces 90% of your body's serotonin, the happiness chemical. This is why you get gut feelings and why stress affects your stomach. Your bones are 4 times stronger than concrete, constantly rebuilding themselves throughout your life. Every 10 years, you have an almost entirely new skeleton as your body breaks down and replaces bone tissue. This renovation project never stops, which is why broken bones can heal stronger than before. 5. The science of why things smell. Smell is your most mysterious sense, directly connected to memory and emotion in ways that can transport you through time with a single whiff. The science behind scent reveals incredible secrets about how you experience the world. You can distinguish over 1 trillion different smells, making your nose more sensitive than any instrument humans have ever created. Yet most people can only name a handful of scents. Unlike colors or sounds, we lack precise vocabulary for smells, relying on comparisons like, "It smells like roses," or "It smells like rain." That new car smell isn't actually a single scent. It's a complex cocktail of over 50 different chemicals released by plastics, adhesives, and fabrics. Car manufacturers actually engineer this smell now because customers associate it with quality and luxury. Some companies even spray artificial new car scent into used vehicles. Rain has a distinct smell called petrichor, created when raindrops release oils from plants, and a compound called geosmin, produced by bacteria in soil. Humans are incredibly sensitive to geosmin. You can detect it at concentrations of just 5 parts per trillion. This sensitivity likely evolved to help our ancestors locate fresh water. Your emotional memories are most strongly linked to smell, because scent bypasses the brain's logical processing centers and goes directly to the limbic system. This is why a particular perfume can instantly transport you to a specific moment in your past with startling clarity and emotion. Smell affects your behavior in ways you don't realize. The scent of cinnamon makes people more helpful and generous. The smell of vanilla makes you crave sweets, but actually helps you eat less by satisfying cravings through scent alone. Lavender genuinely reduces anxiety and helps you sleep better. You lose the ability to smell your own scent within minutes due to sensory adaptation, but others can detect your unique scent signature from across a room. This personal scent is determined by your genes, diet, health, and even your emotional state. 6. Why you forget names but remember faces. You've met thousands of people, yet you can remember faces from decades ago while forgetting the name of someone you met 5 minutes ago. This isn't a flaw in your memory. It's a fascinating feature of how your brain evolved to process social information. Face recognition is handled by a specialized part of your brain called the fusiform gyrus, which is so sophisticated it can distinguish between identical twins. This system is so powerful that you can recognize a face you haven't seen in 20 years within 100 milliseconds, faster than you can blink. Names, however, are arbitrary labels stored in your brain's language centers. There's no logical connection between someone's appearance and their name, so your brain has to create artificial links. This requires more mental effort and is easier to disrupt, which is why names slip away so easily. You actually remember faces better than you think. Studies show people can recognize faces from their high school yearbook with 90% accuracy, even 50 years later. Your brain dedicates enormous resources to facial recognition because identifying friend from foe was crucial for survival throughout human evolution. The tip of the tongue phenomenon with names happens because different aspects of memory are stored separately. You might remember that someone's name starts with M and has 2 syllables, but can't access the complete word. Your brain has partial information scattered across different networks, but can't connect them all together. Cultural differences affect name memory. People from cultures that emphasize individual identity tend to be better at remembering names, while those from collectivist cultures often excel at remembering relationships and social connections instead. You can improve name memory with specific techniques. The most effective method is to immediately use someone's name in conversation, create a visual association between their name and appearance, and repeat the name while looking at their face. This forces your brain to create stronger connections between the visual and verbal memory systems. 7. The mystery of why music moves you. Music is one of humanity's greatest mysteries. It serves no obvious evolutionary purpose, yet it can move you to tears, energize you for hours, or transport you to another world. The science behind why music affects you so powerfully reveals incredible secrets about your brain and emotions. When you listen to music you love, your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical associated with eating, sex, and drugs. But here's the fascinating part. Your brain releases dopamine not just when the good part hits, but in the seconds before, during the anticipation. Your brain gets high from expecting musical pleasure. Certain chord progressions are mathematically designed to create emotional responses. The VI-IV progression, used in thousands of songs from Don't Stop Believin' to Let It Be, creates a sense of emotional journey and resolution that feels satisfying to almost every human brain, regardless of musical training. You synchronize with music automatically and unconsciously. Within seconds of hearing a beat, your heart rate, breathing, and even brain waves begin to match the rhythm. This is why fast music energizes you and slow music calms you down. Your body literally entrains to the musical patterns. Musical chills, that tingling sensation you get from certain songs, happen to about 50% of people and indicate a more connected brain. People who experience frisson have denser neural connections between their auditory cortex and emotional centers. These same people tend to be more empathetic and emotionally intelligent. The songs you love most are often connected to important memories from your teenage years and early 20s. This period, called the reminiscence bump, is when your identity forms and your brain creates the strongest emotional memories. The music from this time becomes the soundtrack to your core sense of self. Perfect pitch, the ability to identify exact musical notes, is actually more common than we thought, but most people lose it. Almost all babies are born with perfect pitch abilities, but without musical training, this skill disappears by age 6. Your brain literally optimizes itself for language at the expense of absolute pitch perception. 8. Why time feels faster as you get older. Remember how summer vacations felt endless when you were a child, but now entire years seem to fly by in a blur. This isn't your imagination. Time perception actually changes as you age, and the science behind it reveals fascinating truths about consciousness and memory. The proportional theory suggests that each year represents a smaller fraction of your total life experience. When you're 5 years old, 1 year is 20% of your entire existence. When you're 50, 1 year is only 2%. Your brain processes time relative to how much you've already experienced, making each additional year feel proportionally shorter. But there's more to it than simple math. Novel experiences slow down time perception. Children constantly encounter new situations that require mental processing, creating rich, detailed memories that make time feel longer. As adults, we fall into routines where days blend together, creating sparse memories that make time feel compressed in retrospect. Your brain uses the amount of new information processed as a measure of time passage. A day filled with new experiences creates dense memories that stretch time perception, while routine days create thin memories that compress time. This is why vacation days feel long while you're experiencing them, but seem short when remembering them. Attention affects time perception dramatically. When you're focused and engaged, time flies. When you're bored or anxious, every minute crawls by. This happens because boredom makes you check the time frequently, interrupting your natural flow state and making you hyper-aware of time's passage. Physical changes also affect time perception. As you age, your internal biological clock runs slightly slower. Your neural processing speed decreases, and your dopamine levels drop. These changes literally alter how your brain processes temporal information, making external time feel faster by comparison. The good news is you can slow down time perception by intentionally seeking novel experiences, learning new skills, and paying attention to details in your daily life. Breaking routines and creating memorable moments helps build richer memories that expand your subjective experience of time. 9. The secret language of your dreams. Every night, your mind creates elaborate stories, impossible scenarios, and vivid experiences that seem completely real until you wake up. Dreams aren't random. They're your brain's sophisticated way of processing information, solving problems, and preparing for the future. You dream in 90-minute cycles throughout the night, but you only remember dreams from REM sleep if you wake up during or right after them. Most of your dreams are forgotten within minutes of waking because the brain chemicals that form long-term memories are suppressed during sleep. You actually dream far more than you realize. Your brain is more active during REM sleep than when you're awake. The vivid, bizarre nature of dreams comes from your brain making random connections between memories, emotions, and experiences without the logical constraints of waking consciousness. This random processing often leads to creative insights and problem-solving breakthroughs. Common dream themes are surprisingly universal across cultures. Falling, being chased, showing up naked, or being unprepared for an exam appear in dreams worldwide. These themes reflect shared human anxieties about loss of control, social embarrassment, and fear of failure that transcend cultural boundaries. Recurring dreams often represent unresolved psychological conflicts or persistent stresses in your life. Your brain repeatedly processes these issues during sleep, trying to find resolution. The dream usually stops recurring once the underlying issue is addressed in waking life. You can learn to control your dreams through lucid dreaming techniques. When you realize you're dreaming while still asleep, you can sometimes direct the dream's narrative. This skill can be developed through reality checking during the day, keeping dream journals, and practicing specific visualization techniques. Dreams serve important functions for memory consolidation and emotional processing. Your brain uses dream time to transfer important information from temporary to permanent storage, integrate new experiences with existing knowledge, and process emotions from the day. People who are deprived of REM sleep show impaired memory and emotional regulation. The content of your dreams changes throughout the night. Early dreams tend to process recent memories and daily concerns, while later dreams become more bizarre and creative as your brain makes increasingly distant connections between different memories and experiences. 10. Why you yawn, and it's not just tiredness. You probably yawned just reading that title. Yawning is one of the most mysterious and contagious human behaviors, and the real reasons you yawn have little to do with being tired. The science behind yawning reveals surprising truths about your brain, social connections, and evolution. Contagious yawning affects about 60% of people and is a sign of empathy. The same brain regions that activate when you yawn spontaneously also fire when you see someone else yawn. People with higher empathy scores are more susceptible to contagious yawning, while those with autism or psychopathic traits are often immune to yawn contagion. You don't yawn because you need oxygen. This common myth has been thoroughly debunked. People in oxygen-rich environments yawn just as much as those in normal air, and people with lung problems don't yawn more frequently. The oxygen theory simply doesn't match the evidence. Yawning actually cools your brain. Your brain operates best at specific temperatures, and yawning increases blood flow and air circulation to your head, acting like a radiator for your most important organ. This is why you yawn more in warm environments and when you have a fever. The timing of yawns reveals their true function. You yawn most frequently during transitions, when waking up, going to sleep, or switching between activities. Yawning appears to help your brain change states, boosting alertness when you need to wake up or preparing for rest when you're ready to sleep. Even fetuses yawn in the womb, suggesting yawning serves a developmental purpose. Unborn babies begin yawning around 11 weeks of gestation, long before they could be tired or need temperature regulation. This early yawning might help develop proper jaw and breathing muscles. Animals yawn too, and it serves social functions. Dogs yawn to signal stress or to calm tense situations. Primates use yawning as a display of dominance, showing their teeth and jaw strength. The fact that yawning exists across so many species suggests it serves important biological and social purposes beyond simple fatigue. You can't yawn on command the same way you yawn naturally. Forced yawns don't provide the same physiological benefits as spontaneous ones, and they rarely trigger the satisfying stretch and alertness boost that real yawns provide. 11. Why you hiccup. Hiccups are one of the most annoying and mysterious things your body does, but the reason behind them reveals an incredible story about human evolution that spans millions of years. Hiccups are actually an evolutionary leftover from when your ancient ancestors had both gills and lungs. The hiccup reflex is nearly identical to the gill-breathing motion that fish and amphibians use to pump water over their gills. Your diaphragm spasms in the same rhythm that helped your distant relatives breathe underwater. Every mammal hiccups, even whales and dolphins. But the animals that hiccup most frequently are those that still have primitive breathing systems. This suggests that hiccups serve some vestigial function related to respiratory development. Babies hiccup more than adults because their nervous systems are still developing. Fetuses begin hiccuping in the womb around 6 weeks after conception, long before they need to breathe air. This early hiccuping might help develop the diaphragm and respiratory muscles needed for breathing after birth. The longest recorded case of hiccups lasted 68 years. Charles Osborne began hiccuping in 1922 and didn't stop until 1990. Despite this, he lived a relatively normal life, got married twice, and had 8 children. His hiccups finally stopped mysteriously one day, and he died a year later. Most hiccup remedies work by resetting your nervous system. Holding your breath, drinking water upside down, or being startled all interrupt the hiccup reflex by forcing your brain to focus on something else. The key is disrupting the automatic rhythm that's taken over your diaphragm. Chronic hiccups can indicate serious medical problems. While normal hiccups last minutes or hours, hiccups lasting more than 48 hours can signal issues with your central nervous system, metabolism, or digestive system. In rare cases, persistent hiccups have led doctors to discover tumors or other conditions. 12. Invisible colors around you. Right now, you're surrounded by an invisible rainbow of colors that your eyes can't detect. The world is filled with ultraviolet patterns, infrared signatures, and electromagnetic frequencies that create a hidden visual universe you never see. Many flowers have ultraviolet patterns that act like landing strips for bees and butterflies. What looks like a plain yellow sunflower to you appears to a bee as having intricate geometric patterns and bright contrasting colors. These UV patterns guide pollinators to nectar, creating a secret communication system between plants and insects. Your clothing might be glowing in ultraviolet light right now. Many laundry detergents contain optical brighteners that absorb UV light and emit blue light, making your clothes appear whiter and brighter. Under a black light, many white clothes actually glow with an eerie blue radiance. Reindeer can see ultraviolet light, which helps them survive in the Arctic. Snow reflects UV light differently than other surfaces, so reindeer can use UV vision to spot predators, find food, and navigate in conditions where everything looks uniformly white to human eyes. Infrared cameras reveal that many animals have completely different color patterns in heat signatures. Polar bears, which appear white in visible light, show up as dark silhouettes in infrared because their fur is so effective at insulating their body heat. Their black skin underneath absorbs and retains warmth, while their hollow fur hairs provide perfect insulation. Some people can see more colors than others due to genetic variations. About 12% of women have a fourth type of color receptor in their eyes, potentially allowing them to see 100 million different colors compared to the 10 million that most people can distinguish. These tetrachromats might see subtle color differences that are completely invisible to everyone else. Birds navigate using magnetic fields that create visual patterns across their field of vision. They can literally see the Earth's magnetic field as colored lines or gradients overlaid on their normal vision, providing them with a built-in GPS system that's always visible. 13. Your food's secret life. Every bite you take has traveled an incredible journey and contains hidden stories that would amaze you. Your food isn't just nutrition. It's a collection of ancient migrations, evolutionary adaptations, and chemical reactions happening right in your mouth. Honey never spoils because it's essentially bee-made embalming fluid. Bees process flower nectar by adding enzymes that break down complex sugars and removing water content until only 18% moisture remains. This creates an environment so hostile to bacteria that honey found in ancient Egyptian tombs is still perfectly edible after thousands of years. Bananas are radioactive due to their high potassium content. They contain potassium-40, a naturally occurring radioactive isotope. The banana equivalent dose is actually used by scientists as an informal unit to compare radiation exposure levels. You'd need to eat 10 million bananas in one sitting to die from radiation poisoning. Chocolate was once used as currency and was more valuable than gold in ancient Mesoamerica. The Aztecs believed chocolate was a gift from the god Quetzalcoatl and reserved it for royalty and warriors. Spanish conquistadors initially dismissed it as bitter water until they learned to add sugar. Vanilla is the second most expensive spice in the world after saffron because it requires hand pollination. In nature, only one species of Mexican bee can pollinate vanilla orchids. When vanilla was transplanted to other countries, It couldn't reproduce until a 12-year-old slave named Edmund Albius discovered how to hand-pollinate the flowers in 1841. Your tomatoes are technically trying to poison you, but failing. Tomatoes produce solanine, a natural pesticide that's toxic to insects and small animals. The green parts of tomatoes contain higher concentrations of this compound, which is why green tomatoes can cause stomach upset. Ripe red tomatoes have much lower levels, making them safe for humans. Apples you buy in stores can be up to a year old. After harvest, apples are stored in controlled atmosphere storage, where oxygen levels are reduced and carbon dioxide is increased, essentially putting the fruit into suspended animation. This allows apples to stay fresh for months without spoiling. 14. Why you get songs stuck. That song playing on repeat in your head right now isn't random. It's your brain's sophisticated audio processing system gone haywire. The phenomenon of earworms reveals fascinating truths about memory, attention, and how your mind processes music. About 98% of people experience earworms, and women tend to get them more frequently than men. The songs that get stuck most often share specific musical characteristics. They have simple, repetitive melodies with unexpected intervals or rhythmic patterns that create cognitive tension your brain tries to resolve. Your brain treats unfinished songs like unfinished tasks. This is called the Zeigarnik effect. Your mind has trouble letting go of incomplete patterns. When a song gets interrupted, or you only remember part of it, your brain keeps playing it on repeat, trying to complete the musical pattern and resolve the cognitive tension. Earworms often strike when your mind is in a relaxed, unfocused state. They're most likely to occur during routine activities like showering, walking, or doing chores, when your conscious mind isn't fully occupied. This mental downtime allows your subconscious audio processing to take center stage. The best way to get rid of an earworm is to listen to the entire song from beginning to end. This gives your brain the completion it's seeking and satisfies the psychological need to resolve the musical pattern. Alternatively, engaging in complex mental tasks that require your full attention can override the stuck song. Certain people are more prone to earworms due to their cognitive style. People who score high on measures of musical engagement, openness to experience, and neuroticism tend to experience earworms more frequently and for longer durations. Musicians and people with musical training are particularly susceptible. Earworms can actually improve your mood and cognitive performance. Studies show that experiencing familiar, enjoyable earworms can reduce anxiety, improve focus, and even enhance creative thinking. Your brain uses these musical memories as a form of self-regulation and emotional management. The most common earworm songs change by generation, but tend to be hits from people's teenage years and early 20s. This is because your brain forms the strongest musical memories during adolescence, when you're developing your identity and emotional associations with music are most intense. 15. Secrets of sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis is one of the most terrifying experiences a person can have. But understanding what's happening during these episodes reveals incredible insights into consciousness, dreams, and the boundary between sleep and waking. During sleep paralysis, your mind wakes up, but your body remains in REM sleep mode, where muscle movement is naturally paralyzed to prevent you from acting out dreams. This disconnect creates a terrifying experience of being conscious but unable to move, often accompanied by hallucinations that feel completely real. Hallucinations during sleep paralysis fall into 3 categories: intruder hallucinations, where you sense a threatening presence; incubus hallucinations involving pressure on your chest or difficulty breathing, and vestibular motor hallucinations that create sensations of floating, flying, or out-of-body experiences. Sleep paralysis has shaped folklore and mythology across cultures throughout history. The old hag in Anglo-Saxon culture, pinyin ghost oppression in China, and se me subió el muerto in Mexico all describe the same phenomenon. These cultural interpretations of sleep paralysis have influenced ghost stories and supernatural beliefs worldwide. About 8% of the general population experiences sleep paralysis, but rates are much higher among students, shift workers, and people with mental health conditions. Stress, sleep deprivation, sleeping on your back, and irregular sleep schedules all increase the likelihood of episodes. The experience typically lasts between 20 seconds and 2 minutes, though it can feel much longer to the person experiencing it. The intense fear and panic that often accompany sleep paralysis are partly due to the amygdala, your brain's fear center, being highly active while rational thought centers remain suppressed. You can sometimes break out of sleep paralysis by focusing on small movements, like wiggling your fingers or toes, or by trying to cough or make noise. These tiny muscle groups are sometimes less affected by the paralysis, and successfully moving them can help wake your body fully. Sleep paralysis is generally harmless, but can be prevented by maintaining good sleep hygiene, sleeping on your side instead of your back, managing stress levels, and keeping regular sleep schedules. Understanding that it's a natural neurological phenomenon can reduce the fear and anxiety associated with future episodes. 16. Hidden math in music. Music isn't just art, it's mathematics you can hear. Every song you love is built on mathematical relationships that create harmony, rhythm, and emotional responses through precise numerical ratios and geometric patterns. The most pleasant-sounding musical intervals are based on simple mathematical ratios. An octave is a 2-to-1 frequency ratio. A perfect fifth is 3-to-2, and a perfect fourth is 4-to-3. These ratios create harmonic resonance that your brain processes as consonant and pleasing. When frequencies align in these simple ratios, they literally vibrate in mathematical harmony. The equal temperament tuning system used in modern music is a mathematical compromise. To make all keys sound equally in tune, each semitone is multiplied by the 12th root of 2, approximately 1.059463. This slight mathematical adjustment allows musicians to play in any key while maintaining harmonic relationships. Beat frequencies occur when two notes are slightly out of tune, creating a mathematical phenomenon you can hear. When two frequencies are close but not identical, they create a pulsing effect at a rate equal to the difference between the frequencies. A 440 Hz and 442 Hz note played together create beats at 2 Hz, 2 pulses per second. The golden ratio appears in musical compositions and instrument design. Many classical pieces unconsciously follow golden ratio proportions in their structure, and the spiral shape of violin sound holes and the proportions of piano keys often reflect this mathematical relationship found throughout nature. Rhythm exists in mathematical time signatures that create predictable patterns your brain craves. A 4/4 time signature means 4 quarter note beats per measure, while 3/4 creates the waltz pattern. These mathematical frameworks provide the foundation that allows complex musical expression while maintaining structural coherence. Sound waves themselves are mathematical functions. Sine waves, square waves, and sawtooth waves create different timbres based on their mathematical shapes. Electronic synthesizers generate music by creating and manipulating these mathematical waveforms, literally turning equations into audible art. Frequency doubling creates the octave relationship that makes different notes sound similar. A 220 Hz note and a 440 Hz note are one octave apart and share the same letter name because the mathematical relationship creates harmonic similarity that your brain recognizes as fundamentally the same pitch class. 17. Why you forget dreams. Every night you experience vivid adventures, impossible scenarios, and emotional journeys that vanish within minutes of waking. The reason dreams disappear so quickly reveals fascinating truths about consciousness, memory, and the different states of your brain. Your brain chemistry during REM sleep prevents dream memories from forming properly. The neurotransmitter noradrenaline, which is crucial for memory consolidation, is almost completely shut off during REM sleep. Without this chemical, your brain can't transfer dream experiences from short-term to long-term memory storage. Dreams occur primarily during REM sleep, when your brain is highly active but disconnected from external sensory input. This creates a paradox. Your mind is creating vivid experiences while simultaneously lacking the neurochemical tools needed to remember them. It's like trying to record a movie with a broken recording device. The transition from sleep to waking dramatically changes your brain chemistry within minutes. As noradrenaline levels surge upon awakening, your brain shifts focus to processing external reality, essentially overwriting the neurological pathways that held dream memories. This is why dreams fade so rapidly after waking. You actually remember dreams much better if you wake up naturally during or immediately after REM sleep. Alarm clocks often wake you during non-REM phases, when dream activity is minimal, which is why many people believe they don't dream at all. In reality, you dream for about 2 hours each night, but remember almost none of it. People who remember dreams frequently tend to have different brain patterns even during waking hours. They show increased activity in the medial prefrontal cortex and temporoparietal junction, areas associated with attention and information processing. These individuals are naturally more responsive to stimuli and process information differently. Dream journals can improve dream recall because the act of recording dreams trains your brain to prioritize these memories. When you consistently write down dreams immediately upon waking, you're essentially teaching your brain that dream content is important enough to remember, which strengthens the neural pathways involved in dream memory formation. Recurring dreams are more likely to be remembered because repetition strengthens memory formation. When your brain processes similar dream content multiple times, it creates stronger neural pathways that can survive the neurochemical changes of waking up. The emotional intensity of dreams affects how well you remember them. Dreams with strong emotional content activate the amygdala, which plays a crucial role in memory formation. Nightmares, and particularly vivid dreams, are more likely to be remembered because the emotional centers of your brain stamp them as significant events worth preserving. 18. Your skin's secret powers. Your skin isn't just a protective barrier. It's your body's largest organ with incredible abilities that would seem like superpowers if you really understood what it was doing every second of every day. Your skin completely regenerates itself every 28 days. Right now, you're shedding about 40,000 dead skin cells per minute, which amounts to about 9 pounds of dead skin per year. The skin you're touching right now is entirely different from the skin you had a month ago, yet it maintains perfect continuity and all your scars, freckles, and tattoos. You have about 20 square feet of skin covering your body, and it contains approximately 11 miles of blood vessels. If you could lay all your skin flat, it would cover roughly the same area as a small room. This massive organ weighs about 8 pounds, roughly 16% of your total body weight. Your skin produces its own antibiotics. When threatened by bacteria or injury, skin cells release antimicrobial peptides that can kill harmful microorganisms more effectively than many manufactured antibiotics. Your skin is constantly waging chemical warfare against potential invaders using its own pharmaceutical arsenal. The skin on your palms and soles has no hair follicles or oil glands, but it has the thickest layer of dead skin cells. This specialized skin can become up to 5 times thicker through regular pressure, which is why calluses form. The ridge patterns on your fingertips are completely unique and remain unchanged throughout your entire life. Your skin can taste certain chemicals through specialized receptors. The same taste receptors found on your tongue exist in skin cells, particularly around wounds. This allows your skin to taste potentially harmful substances and trigger appropriate immune responses or healing processes. Skin color isn't just about melanin. It's also influenced by blood flow, oxygenation, and even diet. The slight yellow tint in some people's skin comes from carotenoids in vegetables, while the blue undertones come from deoxygenated blood, showing through translucent skin layers. Your skin is literally displaying your internal health status through color variations. Your skin has its own microbiome containing trillions of beneficial bacteria, fungi, and viruses that help protect you from harmful pathogens. This invisible ecosystem is so complex that the bacterial diversity on your skin is comparable to that found in entire forest ecosystems. Disrupting this balance with harsh soaps or antibiotics can actually make you more vulnerable to skin problems. 19. Why gravity feels normal. Gravity is one of the most powerful forces in the universe, constantly pulling you toward Earth with tremendous force, yet you barely notice it. Understanding why gravity feels normal reveals amazing truths about adaptation, physics, and how your body has evolved in a gravitational world. You're currently experiencing a gravitational force equivalent to your entire body weight pulling you downward every second, yet your brain has learned to ignore this constant sensation. If gravity suddenly doubled, you'd feel like you weighed twice as much and couldn't walk normally. If it disappeared, you'd be helplessly floating. Yet right now, this massive force feels like nothing. Your inner ear contains specialized organs called otoliths that detect gravitational forces using tiny calcium carbonate crystals. These crystals rest on hair-like sensors that tell your brain which direction is down. Without these gravity detectors, you'd have no sense of spatial orientation and couldn't maintain balance. Every cell in your body has adapted to function under constant gravitational pressure. Your heart pumps blood upward against gravity to reach your brain. Your bones maintain density to support your weight, and your muscles develop strength specifically to work within Earth's gravitational field. You are literally built by gravity. Astronauts experience profound physiological changes in zero gravity because their bodies are designed for constant gravitational stress. Within days, they lose bone density, muscle mass decreases, their cardiovascular system weakens, and their spatial orientation becomes confused. Their bodies begin to forget how to exist in gravity. Plants also respond to gravity through a process called gravitropism. Roots grow downward and shoots grow upward regardless of how you plant a seed, because plant cells contain dense particles called statoliths that settle toward gravity, telling the plant which direction to grow. The reason falling feels terrifying isn't because of gravity itself, but because your brain recognizes the absence of support. Your inner ear detects acceleration, and free fall triggers ancient survival instincts that associate falling with danger. Gravity itself doesn't hurt you. Suddenly stopping does. If Earth were smaller, gravity would be weaker and you could jump much higher. If it were larger, gravity would be stronger and you might not be able to walk upright. The strength of Earth's gravity has directly influenced the evolution of all life forms, determining maximum possible body sizes, bone densities, and even how blood circulation systems developed. Time actually moves slightly faster for your head than your feet due to gravitational time dilation. Your head experiences slightly weaker gravity than your feet, causing time to pass about 90 billionths of a second faster per day at head level. This effect is real and measurable, though completely imperceptible to human consciousness. 20. Secret language of laughter. Laughter isn't just a response to humor. It's a complex social signal that reveals hidden truths about relationships, status, emotions, and human connection. Your laugh contains more information than you realize, and others are unconsciously reading these signals every time you laugh. You laugh 30 times more often in social situations than when alone. Laughter is primarily a social phenomenon, not a response to comedy. Most laughter occurs during normal conversation in response to statements that aren't particularly funny. We use laughter as punctuation, agreement, nervousness relief, and social bonding rather than just humor appreciation. Your laugh is as unique as your fingerprint and reveals personality traits. People can identify individuals by their laugh alone with remarkable accuracy. Dominant personalities tend to have louder, more frequent laughs, while anxious people often have higher-pitched, shorter laughs. Your laugh patterns can reveal confidence levels, social status, and emotional states. Fake laughter sounds different from genuine laughter, and most people can unconsciously detect the difference. Real laughter involves more muscle groups, lasts longer, and has different acoustic properties than voluntary laughter. The inability to fake laughter convincingly makes it a reliable indicator of genuine emotion and social connection. Laughter is contagious due to mirror neurons in your brain that automatically mimic the emotional states of others. When you hear someone laugh, your brain begins preparing your own laugh response before you consciously decide whether something is funny. This automatic mimicry helps create group bonding and shared emotional experiences. Different cultures have distinct laughter patterns and social rules about when laughter is appropriate. Some cultures use laughter to express embarrassment or discomfort, while others reserve it primarily for humor. Understanding these cultural differences in laughter can prevent serious social misunderstandings. Laughter triggers the release of endorphins, dopamine, and serotonin, creating a natural high that can last for hours after intense laughter. This neurochemical cocktail reduces stress hormones, boosts immune function, and can provide pain relief equivalent to mild medication. Laughter literally drugs your brain with happiness chemicals. The average adult laughs about 17 times per day, but children laugh up to 400 times daily. This dramatic decrease isn't necessarily about becoming less happy. It's about learning social norms, developing more complex humor appreciation, and using laughter more strategically as a social tool, rather than pure expression of joy. 21. Why water tastes different. The water you drink isn't just H2O. It's a complex mixture of minerals, gases, and trace elements that create distinct flavor profiles you can actually taste, even though you've been told water has no flavor. Pure distilled water tastes flat and unsatisfying because your taste buds expect certain minerals. The taste of water comes from dissolved minerals like calcium, magnesium, and sodium that interact with your taste receptors. Your brain has learned to associate these mineral signatures with safe, drinkable water. Different water sources create completely different taste experiences based on their mineral content. Mountain spring water picks up minerals from granite and limestone, creating a crisp, clean taste. Well water may contain iron or sulfur compounds that give it metallic or eggy flavors. Ocean desalinated water tastes different from river water, which tastes different from melted snow. The temperature of water dramatically affects its taste because cold temperatures suppress your ability to detect certain flavors while enhancing others. Cold water tastes more refreshing, partly because you can't taste potentially unpleasant compounds as strongly, while room temperature water allows you to detect more subtle mineral flavors. Your saliva actually changes the taste of water. Before water hits your taste buds, it mixes with saliva that contains sodium, potassium, and proteins. This interaction creates a unique flavor profile that's different from the water itself. This is why water tastes different when your mouth is dry versus when you're well hydrated. Plastic bottles can significantly alter water's taste through chemical leaching, especially when exposed to heat or sunlight. Different plastic types release different compounds. Some taste slightly sweet, others metallic, and some have no detectable flavor impact. Glass bottles preserve the original mineral taste better than any plastic alternative. Your taste perception of water changes throughout the day based on what you've eaten, your hydration level, and even your mood. After eating something sweet, water may taste slightly bitter. When you're dehydrated, the first sip of water tastes dramatically better than subsequent sips as your taste receptors become less sensitive. 22. The physics of walking. Every step you take is a controlled fall that your body catches at the last second. Walking is one of the most complex physical processes you do, involving precise calculations of momentum, balance, and energy conservation that would challenge even advanced computers. You're constantly calculating thousands of micro-adjustments with each step to account for surface irregularities, changes in elevation, and shifts in your center of gravity. Your brain processes information from your inner ear, eyes, and proprioceptors in your muscles to make real-time corrections that keep you upright and moving forward. The optimal walking speed for energy efficiency is surprisingly consistent across different body sizes and shapes. Most people naturally walk at about 3 miles per hour because this speed minimizes the metabolic cost per distance traveled. Walking faster or slower than this optimal speed requires disproportionately more energy. Your walking pattern creates a distinctive signature that's as unique as your fingerprint. Surveillance systems can now identify individuals based solely on their walking gait, because factors like stride length, foot angle, arm swing, and posture create a biomechanical signature that's virtually impossible to disguise. Walking backwards uses 40% more energy than walking forward because your body isn't optimized for reverse locomotion. Your muscles have to work harder to maintain balance and coordinate movement in an unnatural direction, while your vision provides limited feedback about upcoming obstacles or terrain changes. The pendulum motion of your legs during walking is so efficient that it inspired the design of passive dynamic walking robots. These machines can walk down gentle slopes using no motors or power sources, just gravity and the natural pendulum physics of leg movement that evolution perfected in human locomotion. High heels fundamentally alter the physics of walking by shifting your center of gravity forward and changing the natural pendulum motion of your legs. This forces compensatory changes in posture, muscle activation, and balance strategies that can lead to fatigue and long-term biomechanical problems. Your footsteps generate measurable seismic waves that travel through the ground. These vibrations are so distinctive that specialized sensors can detect and identify individual people walking based on the unique pattern of ground vibrations their footsteps create. 23. Why you crave salt. Your salt craving isn't just about taste. It's a powerful biological drive that has shaped human history, trade routes, and survival strategies for thousands of years. Your body treats salt as precious as gold because, in many ways, it is. Sodium is essential for every cell in your body to function properly. It maintains fluid balance, enables nerve signals, and keeps your heart beating in proper rhythm. Your body can't produce sodium, so you must obtain it from external sources, creating an evolutionarily programmed craving for salty foods. Your taste buds have dedicated salt receptors that bypass normal taste processing and send signals directly to brain regions associated with pleasure and reward. This evolutionary shortcut ensures that when you encounter salt, your brain immediately recognizes it as valuable and worth consuming, even when you're not consciously thinking about sodium needs. Pregnancy dramatically increases salt cravings because growing a baby requires significant increases in blood volume and fluid retention. Pregnant women's bodies instinctively crave the extra sodium needed to support expanded circulatory systems and proper fetal development, explaining intense pickle and pretzel cravings during pregnancy. Athletes and people who sweat heavily develop stronger salt cravings because they lose significant sodium through perspiration. Your body monitors sodium levels so precisely that even small losses trigger cravings that persist until sodium balance is restored. This is why sports drinks contain sodium, not just for taste but for physiological need. Salt was literally used as currency throughout human history because its biological importance made it universally valuable. The word salary comes from the Latin word for salt, reflecting how essential this mineral was for survival. Wars were fought over salt mines, and cities were built around salt trade routes. Different types of salt affect your cravings differently due to varying mineral content and crystal structure. Sea salt contains trace minerals that can satisfy cravings more effectively than pure table salt, while Himalayan pink salt includes iron compounds that may address multiple mineral needs simultaneously. Your salt cravings can indicate underlying health conditions like adrenal insufficiency, kidney problems, or electrolyte imbalances. While normal salt cravings are healthy, sudden increases or persistent intense cravings may signal medical issues that affect your body's ability to regulate sodium balance properly. 24. The Mystery of Goosebumps. Those tiny bumps that rise on your skin during emotional moments aren't just a random reaction. They're an evolutionary response that once helped your ancestors survive dangerous situations and still serves important functions today. Goosebumps occur when tiny muscles called erector pili contract around your hair follicles, causing hairs to stand upright and creating the characteristic bumpy texture on your skin. This response happens automatically when your sympathetic nervous system detects certain triggers, bypassing conscious control. The original evolutionary purpose of goosebumps was to make animals appear larger and more threatening when facing predators or rivals. When fur or hair stands on end, it increases apparent body size and can intimidate opponents. While humans have lost most body hair, we retain this ancient defense mechanism. Goosebumps also helped with temperature regulation by trapping insulating air close to the skin when hair stood upright. In cold conditions, erect hair creates a layer of warm air around the body, similar to how birds fluff their feathers for insulation. This function is less effective in modern humans due to our reduced body hair. Emotional goosebumps, called frissons, occur when you experience intense beauty, music, or moving moments. These aesthetic chills activate the same neural pathways as physical cold or fear, suggesting that emotional and physical threat responses share evolutionary origins. People who experience frissons frequently tend to be more emotionally responsive and creative. Certain musical elements are particularly effective at triggering goosebumps. Sudden volume changes, unexpected harmonies, singers' breaks in their voice, and the entrance of a full choir or orchestra. These musical moments create emotional tension and release that your brain interprets as significant enough to warrant a physical response. ASMR, Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response, can trigger goosebumps through gentle sounds, whispers, or repetitive actions. This response may be related to grooming behaviors in social animals, where gentle touch and quiet sounds signal safety and bonding. ASMR goosebumps often feel more pleasant than fear-based ones. You can sometimes trigger goosebumps intentionally by recalling powerful emotional memories, listening to music that has previously affected you, or even thinking about certain textures or sounds. This demonstrates how closely connected your physical responses are to memory and imagination. Individual differences in goosebump frequency relate to personality traits like openness to experience, emotional sensitivity, and even musical training. Some people rarely experience goosebumps, while others get them multiple times daily from various emotional or aesthetic triggers. 25. How your phone changes you. Your smartphone isn't just a tool. It's actively rewiring your brain, changing how you think, remember, and interact with the world in ways that would have seemed like science fiction just decades ago. Your phone triggers dopamine release every time you check it, creating the same neurological reward pathways associated with gambling and drug use. The unpredictable nature of notifications, you never know if you'll get something interesting, creates a variable reward schedule that's particularly addictive to human psychology. The mere presence of your smartphone reduces cognitive performance even when it's turned off. Studies show that people perform worse on attention and memory tasks when their phone is visible compared to when it's in another room. Your brain dedicates mental resources to resisting the urge to check it, reducing available processing power for other tasks. Your phone is changing how your brain organizes and stores information. Instead of remembering facts, you're increasingly remembering where to find information online. This Google effect, or digital amnesia, represents a fundamental shift in how human memory works, from storing information to storing access pathways. Phantom vibration syndrome affects up to 89% of smartphone users, causing you to feel your phone vibrating when it isn't. Your brain becomes so attuned to phone notifications that it starts interpreting other sensations, clothing movement, muscle twitches, or background vibrations, as potential phone alerts. Your attention span has measurably decreased since smartphones became common. The average person now checks their phone every 12 minutes and can focus on a single task for only about 8 seconds before being distracted. This constant task switching reduces efficiency and increases mental fatigue. Sleep patterns are significantly disrupted by smartphone use, not just from blue light, but from the mental stimulation of content consumption. Your brain remains in an alert processing state long after you put the phone down, making it harder to transition into the relaxed mental state necessary for quality sleep. Social media platforms on your phone use psychological techniques developed from behavioral psychology research to maximize engagement time. Features like infinite scroll, variable reward schedules, and social validation through likes and comments are specifically designed to keep you using the device longer than you intended. Your posture and physical health are changing due to phone use. Text neck, from looking down at screens, is creating new patterns of muscle strain and spinal alignment issues. The repetitive motions of typing and swiping can lead to overuse injuries in hands and wrists that were rare before touchscreen devices. 26. Why animals don't get lost. Animals navigate across thousands of miles with pinpoint accuracy using senses and abilities that humans have largely lost. Their navigation systems make GPS look primitive, combining multiple sensory inputs into biological compasses that never need batteries or satellite signals. Migratory birds can see magnetic fields as colored overlays on their normal vision, creating a built-in navigation display more sophisticated than any human technology. Special proteins in their eyes called cryptochromes react to magnetic fields, allowing birds to literally see the Earth's magnetic field lines as patterns of light and color. Sea turtles use magnetic signatures as address systems, with different ocean locations having unique magnetic field characteristics that turtles can detect and remember. Baby turtles imprint on the magnetic signature of their birth beach and can return to that exact location decades later using this magnetic map stored in their memory. Salmon navigate back to their birthplace using their sense of smell, recognizing the unique chemical signature of the water where they were born. They can detect and distinguish between thousands of different water sources based on dissolved minerals, organic compounds, and even the specific mix of algae and bacteria present in different streams. Many animals use polarized light patterns invisible to human eyes as navigation aids. Even on cloudy days, polarized light from the sun creates consistent patterns across the sky that animals can read like a compass. Bees, ants, and many birds use these polarized light compasses for precise navigation. Whales and dolphins use sound mapping for navigation, creating detailed mental maps based on echolocation and the acoustic properties of different ocean regions. They can identify underwater mountains, canyon walls, and distinctive sound-reflecting features that serve as landmarks in an otherwise featureless ocean environment. Desert ants count their steps and measure their stride length to navigate back to their nest with mathematical precision. They integrate step count with compass direction to calculate exact distance and bearing to home, demonstrating sophisticated internal odometry that rivals modern pedometer technology. Some animals use infrasound, ultra-low frequency sound waves that travel hundreds of miles, for long-distance navigation and communication. Elephants, whales, and certain birds can detect and use these subsonic signals that are completely inaudible to humans, creating a hidden communication and navigation network across vast distances. 27. The Science of Deja Vu. That eerie feeling that you've experienced something before isn't just your imagination. It's a fascinating glitch in your brain's memory processing system that reveals how consciousness and time perception actually work. Deja vu occurs when your brain's familiarity detection system fires incorrectly, creating a sense of recognition without actual memory retrieval. Your brain has separate systems for familiarity and recollection, and deja vu happens when the familiarity system activates without corresponding memories, creating the strange sensation of recognition without recall. About 70% of people experience déjà vu, with higher rates among people who are younger, more educated, and who travel frequently. The phenomenon typically peaks during teenage years and early 20s, then gradually decreases with age as brain processing becomes more standardized and less prone to these recognition errors. Temporal lobe epilepsy can cause intense, prolonged déjà vu experiences that last minutes instead of the usual few seconds. These episodes provide insights into how déjà vu works because they're caused by abnormal electrical activity in brain regions responsible for memory formation and retrieval, essentially creating an amplified version of normal déjà vu. Stress, fatigue, and sleep deprivation increase déjà vu frequency because these conditions make your brain's memory systems more likely to misfire. When your neural networks are operating under strain, the precise timing required for normal memory processing becomes disrupted, leading to more frequent recognition errors. Certain environments and situations trigger déjà vu more often than others. Novel situations that contain familiar elements, like visiting a new restaurant that has similar decor to one you know, can confuse your brain's pattern recognition systems and trigger the familiarity without memory sensation characteristic of déjà vu. The opposite phenomenon, called jamais vu, occurs when familiar situations suddenly feel completely foreign and unfamiliar. This happens when your brain's familiarity system fails to activate for something you know well, creating the disturbing sensation that common experiences feel alien and unknown. Déjà vu may serve an evolutionary function by helping your brain verify the accuracy of its memory systems. The uncomfortable feeling that accompanies déjà vu might be your brain's way of flagging potential memory errors and encouraging you to pay closer attention to current experiences to avoid confusion. Research suggests that déjà vu might be related to how your brain predicts future events based on past experiences. When prediction systems misfire, they can create the impression that current events match previous experiences, even when no such memories exist. 28. Why you sneeze at sunlight. If bright light makes you sneeze, you're part of an exclusive genetic club with a superpower-sounding name, photic sneeze reflex, or ACHOO syndrome, autosomal dominant compelling helio-ophthalmic outburst. This bizarre trait affects about 25% of the population and reveals fascinating connections between your sensory systems. The photic sneeze reflex occurs when bright light triggers crossed wires in your nervous system. The optic nerve, which carries visual information, runs close to the trigeminal nerve, which controls sneezing. In some people, intense light signals can overflow from the optic nerve to the trigeminal nerve, mistakenly triggering a sneeze response. This trait is genetically inherited and follows a dominant pattern, meaning you only need one copy of the gene from either parent to experience light-induced sneezing. If one of your parents sneezes at bright light, you have about a 50% chance of inheriting this quirky characteristic. Photic sneezing typically requires a sudden transition from darkness to bright light to trigger the response. Gradual increases in brightness usually don't cause sneezing because your nervous system has time to adjust. The reflex is most commonly triggered by sunlight, camera flashes, or bright artificial lights encountered after being in dim conditions. This seemingly useless trait may have provided evolutionary advantages to our ancestors. Sneezing when emerging from dark caves or shelters into bright sunlight could have helped clear dust, debris, or potential pathogens from nasal passages, providing a protective mechanism during vulnerable moments of environmental transition. The number of sneezes triggered by light varies between individuals, but is remarkably consistent within the same person. Some people always sneeze once, others always sneeze 3 times, and the pattern remains constant throughout their lives. This suggests precise genetic programming of the response intensity. Pilots and drivers need to be aware of photic sneeze reflex, because sudden sneezing while operating vehicles can be dangerous. Some military and aviation organizations screen for this trait during training, because the temporary loss of control during sneezing fits could pose safety risks during critical operations. You can sometimes suppress photic sneezing by pressing your tongue firmly against the roof of your mouth, or by gradually exposing yourself to increasing light levels instead of sudden brightness. However, the reflex is largely automatic and difficult to control once triggered. 29. The hidden world of smell memory. Your nose is directly connected to your brain's memory and emotion centers in ways that bypass rational thought, creating the most powerful and immediate memory triggers in human experience. Smell memories can transport you instantly across decades with startling emotional intensity. The olfactory bulb, which processes smells, connects directly to the limbic system, without passing through the thalamus like other senses. This direct connection means smell memories bypass logical processing and go straight to emotional and memory centers, explaining why scents can trigger such immediate and intense emotional responses. Smell memories from childhood are particularly vivid and long-lasting because your olfactory system develops early and creates strong neural pathways during formative years. The combination of developing brain plasticity and intense emotional experiences during childhood creates smell memory associations that can last a lifetime. You can distinguish between at least 1 trillion different odors, but most people can only name a few dozen scents accurately. This massive gap between detection ability and vocabulary means most smell memories remain non-verbal, stored as pure sensory experiences rather than descriptive words. Certain medical conditions and diseases can be detected through changes in body odor that trained noses or even dogs can identify. Diabetes creates sweet, fruity breath odors, while liver disease can cause fishy body odors. Some people naturally have more sensitive smell detection abilities that allow them to notice these subtle health-related scent changes. Smell adaptation occurs within minutes of continuous exposure to the same odor. Your brain essentially turns down the volume on consistent smells to conserve processing power for new, potentially important scents. This is why you stop noticing your own perfume or cologne shortly after applying it. Professional perfumers and sommeliers develop expanded smell vocabularies and more precise odor discrimination abilities through training. They learn to identify subtle chemical components in complex scent blends and can detect concentration differences that untrained noses cannot perceive. Smell preferences are influenced by genetics, early experiences, and cultural conditioning. Some people are genetically predisposed to find certain chemical compounds pleasant or unpleasant, while cultural associations can make identical scents appealing or revolting to different groups of people. 30. Why hot water freezes faster. Under the right conditions, hot water can freeze faster than cold water in a phenomenon that defies common sense and has puzzled scientists for centuries. The Mpemba effect, named after a Tanzanian student who rediscovered it, reveals counterintuitive truths about heat transfer and molecular behavior. The Mpemba effect occurs because hot water undergoes different physical and chemical changes that can accelerate the freezing process under specific conditions. Hot water has less dissolved gas, different convection patterns, and altered hydrogen bonding structures that can facilitate faster heat loss and ice formation. Evaporation plays a crucial role in the Mpemba effect. hot water evaporates more rapidly than cold water, reducing the total volume that needs to be frozen. This mass loss can be significant enough to compensate for the extra cooling required, especially in open containers with good air circulation. Convection currents in hot water create more efficient heat transfer patterns that can accelerate cooling. As hot water cools, it creates circulation patterns that bring warmer water to the surface and pull cooler water toward the heat source, potentially creating more efficient overall heat loss than in initially cold water. The dissolved gas content in water affects freezing speed because hot water contains fewer dissolved gases than cold water. Lower gas content can allow ice crystals to form more easily and rapidly once the freezing point is reached, giving hot water an advantage in the final freezing phase. Container shape, material, and environmental conditions all influence whether the Mpemba effect occurs. The phenomenon is more likely in shallow, wide containers with good thermal conductivity and in environments with strong evaporation or convection conditions. Deep, narrow containers or still air conditions may not show the effect. Supercooling behavior differs between hot and cold water samples. Hot water may be less prone to supercooling, remaining liquid below freezing temperature, allowing it to begin ice formation sooner once it reaches the freezing point. Cold water might supercool more readily, delaying the actual freezing process. The Mpemba effect has practical applications in food preparation and ice making. Some ice makers and food freezing processes intentionally use initially hot water to achieve faster freezing times, though the specific conditions must be carefully controlled for the effect to work reliably. 31. The secret life of trees. Trees are not silent, stationary organisms. They're highly social beings that communicate, share resources, and care for their offspring through sophisticated underground networks that create forest-wide communities more complex than most human societies. The Wood Wide Web consists of fungal networks called mycorrhizae that connect tree roots across entire forests, allowing trees to share nutrients, water, and chemical information. These fungal networks can extend for miles, connecting hundreds of trees in mutually beneficial relationships that have existed for millions of years. Mother trees, the oldest, largest trees in a forest, act as central hubs that nurture younger trees by sharing carbon, nutrients, and protective chemicals through the root network. They can recognize their own seedlings and preferentially support their offspring, demonstrating a form of parental care in plants. Trees communicate danger through chemical signals released into the air and transmitted through root networks. When attacked by insects or disease, trees can warn neighboring trees to begin producing defensive compounds before the threat reaches them. This early warning system helps forests mount coordinated defenses against threats. Different tree species can form partnerships and share resources through the underground network. Deciduous trees may share nutrients with evergreens during winter when the deciduous trees are dormant, while evergreens return the favor during summer when they have excess resources. This interspecies cooperation increases forest resilience. Trees have memory and can learn from experience. They can remember drought conditions, insect attacks, or other stresses and adjust their growth patterns, chemical production, and resource allocation based on past experiences. Some trees show different responses to threats they've encountered before versus novel dangers. Urban trees face unique challenges and often develop different survival strategies than forest trees. City trees may have limited root networks, poor soil conditions, and pollution stress, but they can also benefit from human care, supplemental watering, and reduced competition for light. Ancient trees serve as living libraries that contain centuries of environmental information in their growth rings. Climate patterns, volcanic eruptions, insect outbreaks, and human activities are all recorded in tree ring patterns, making old trees valuable sources of historical and environmental data. Tree death and decay play crucial roles in forest ecosystems. Dead trees provide habitat for countless organisms and slowly release stored nutrients back into the forest system. The decomposition process can take decades, creating a sustained nutrient release that supports new growth. 32. Why you forget faces but remember voices. While facial recognition gets most of the attention, voice recognition is actually more reliable and harder to fool than visual identification. Your brain processes voices through completely different pathways that create more durable and distinctive memory patterns than faces. Voice recognition uses multiple dimensions of acoustic information simultaneously: pitch, tone, accent, rhythm, breathing patterns, and even subtle throat and mouth shape characteristics. This multi-layered approach creates unique vocal fingerprints that are extremely difficult to replicate or disguise convincingly. You can recognize familiar voices within 100 milliseconds of hearing them speak, often faster than you can recognize faces. Voice recognition happens so quickly that you frequently know who's speaking before consciously processing what they're saying, demonstrating how efficiently your brain processes vocal patterns. Emotional memories are more strongly linked to voices than faces because vocal processing shares neural pathways with emotion centers in your brain. The tone, inflection, and emotional content of someone's voice create stronger memory associations than visual appearance alone. Your brain continues processing and learning vocal patterns even during sleep. Studies show that people can learn to recognize new voices presented during certain sleep stages, and familiar voices can influence dream content and sleep quality. This unconscious processing makes voice memories particularly robust. Voice recognition remains stable across much longer time periods than facial recognition. You can often recognize someone's voice decades after last hearing it, while facial recognition deteriorates more rapidly with time. This stability makes voice identification valuable in forensic and security applications. Accents and speech patterns provide cultural and geographic information that your brain automatically processes and stores with voice memories. These contextual cues help create richer, more distinctive memory profiles that aid in recognition and recall of vocal information. Phone conversations rely entirely on voice recognition for speaker identification, yet most people have little difficulty recognizing familiar callers. The slight audio distortion and reduced frequency range of phone calls actually makes voice recognition more challenging, highlighting how sophisticated your vocal processing systems really are. Voice disguise is much more difficult than visual disguise because changing fundamental vocal characteristics requires conscious effort and training. While you can easily alter your appearance with clothing, makeup, or accessories, changing your voice convincingly requires sustained conscious control that's hard to maintain. 33. The mathematics of coincidences. Those amazing coincidences that seem too incredible to be random are actually mathematically inevitable. Understanding probability reveals that seemingly impossible coincidences happen constantly. In fact, their absence would be truly surprising. The birthday paradox demonstrates how quickly probability accumulates in ways that defy intuition. In a group of just 23 people, there's a 50% chance that 2 people share the same birthday. With 70 people, the probability exceeds 99.9%. Most people drastically underestimate how probability compounds in groups. Your brain is designed to notice patterns and connections, creating confirmation bias that makes coincidences seem more meaningful than they statistically are. You remember and emphasize the times when unlikely events align while forgetting the countless times they don't, creating an illusion that coincidences are rarer than they actually are. Large numbers make extraordinary coincidences mathematically certain. With billions of people having thousands of experiences daily, events with 1 in a million probability happen thousands of times per day globally. The law of truly large numbers guarantees that incredibly unlikely events will occur regularly somewhere. Clustering illusions occur when random events appear to form patterns due to natural statistical variation. Even perfectly random distributions will contain apparent clusters and gaps that your pattern-seeking brain interprets as meaningful, when they're actually inevitable results of randomness. Probability calculations often counter common sense, because human brains evolved to detect immediate, local patterns rather than long-term statistical trends. We're naturally bad at understanding compound probability, exponential growth, and the true randomness of independent events. The gambler's fallacy demonstrates how people misunderstand probability in sequential events. After a coin lands heads 5 times in a row, many people believe tails is due to come up, when actually each flip remains exactly 50-50 regardless of previous results. Past events don't influence future probability in truly random systems. Synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that seem to suggest hidden connections, may simply reflect how your brain processes and prioritizes information. When you're thinking about something, your attention becomes selectively focused on related events that were always occurring, but previously went unnoticed. 34. Why spicy food makes you sweat. Spicy food doesn't actually contain heat. It contains chemicals that trick your brain into thinking your mouth is burning. This deception triggers powerful cooling responses that reveal fascinating connections between taste, temperature, and survival instincts. Capsaicin, the compound that makes peppers spicy, binds to TRPV1 receptors in your mouth that normally detect dangerous heat above 109 degrees Fahrenheit. When capsaicin activates these receptors, your brain interprets the signal as burning heat, even though no actual temperature change has occurred, triggering emergency cooling responses. Sweating from spicy food is your body's attempt to cool down from phantom heat that doesn't exist. Your brain can't distinguish between real heat and capsaicin-induced heat signals, so it activates the same cooling mechanisms it would use if you were actually overheating, including sweating, increased heart rate, and vasodilation. Different cultures have developed varying tolerance levels for spicy food based on evolutionary adaptations and cultural exposure. People from traditionally spicy food cultures have genetic variations that make them less sensitive to capsaicin, while also having cultural practices that gradually build tolerance from childhood. The ring of fire phenomenon occurs because capsaicin is not broken down by digestion and can irritate TVRP1 receptors throughout your digestive system. Since these same heat detection receptors exist in your intestines and other areas, spicy food can create burning sensations during elimination hours after eating. Dairy products provide relief from spicy food because casein proteins in milk can break down capsaicin and wash it away from receptors. Water actually spreads capsaicin around your mouth and makes the burning worse because capsaicin is oil-soluble, not water-soluble. Bread and rice help by absorbing the oily capsaicin compounds. Endorphin release during spicy food consumption creates natural pain relief and pleasure sensations that can become addictive. Your brain releases these feel-good chemicals in response to the perceived pain from capsaicin, which explains why people can develop cravings for increasingly spicy foods over time. Individual sensitivity to spicy food varies dramatically due to genetic differences in TVRP, 1 receptor density and sensitivity. Some people have many more heat receptors than others, making them extremely sensitive to even mild spices, while others can consume extreme heat levels with minimal discomfort. The Scoville scale measures spiciness in units based on how much sugar water is needed to dilute pepper extract until the heat is no longer detectable. Bell peppers rate 0 Scoville units, jalapenos rate about 5,000, and the hottest peppers exceed 2 million Scoville units, hot enough to be used as weapons. 35. The mystery of perfect pitch. Perfect pitch, the ability to identify exact musical notes without reference, is one of the rarest human abilities possessed by less than 1% of the population. This extraordinary skill reveals fascinating truths about brain development, language, and how humans process sound. People with perfect pitch can instantly identify that a car horn is playing B flat, or that a microwave beep is an F sharp. They experience musical notes as having distinct colors, personalities, or emotional qualities that are as recognizable as different people's faces. This creates a rich internal musical landscape that most people can't access. Perfect pitch appears to be partly genetic, but requires early musical exposure during a critical development window, around ages 3 to 6. Children who receive intensive musical training during this period while having the genetic predisposition are most likely to develop perfect pitch. Missing this window seems to make perfect pitch nearly impossible to acquire later. Interestingly, speakers of tonal languages like Mandarin Chinese are 8 to 9 times more likely to have perfect pitch than speakers of non-tonal languages. This suggests that early exposure to pitch-based language processing creates neural pathways that support perfect pitch development, linking musical and linguistic abilities. Most people with perfect pitch can't turn off their note identification ability. They automatically and involuntarily identify every musical sound they hear. This can be overwhelming in noisy environments and sometimes interferes with musical enjoyment because they're constantly analyzing rather than simply experiencing music. Perfect pitch can become a problem when instruments are tuned to different standards. Historical recordings, out-of-tune pianos, or instruments tuned to different frequencies than modern concert pitch, A equals 440 Hz, can sound wrong and disturbing to people with perfect pitch, while others don't notice the difference. The neural basis of perfect pitch involves specialized processing in the left auditory cortex that creates stable, long-term memory representations of specific frequencies. Brain imaging shows that people with perfect pitch have enlarged and differently organized auditory processing regions compared to those with normal relative pitch abilities. Perfect pitch can sometimes be acquired by adults through intensive training with specialized computer programs, but it requires thousands of hours of practice and results in less stable abilities than naturally occurring perfect pitch. The adult-acquired version often works only within specific frequency ranges, or for particular instruments. Some people with perfect pitch also have perfect rhythm, the ability to identify exact tempos without reference points. These individuals can tell you that a song is playing at exactly 120 beats per minute, or identify subtle tempo changes that escape normal perception. 36. Why elevators have music. Elevator music wasn't designed to entertain you. It was scientifically engineered to manipulate your psychological state and reduce the anxiety, claustrophobia, and awkwardness that elevators naturally create. This seemingly innocent background music serves powerful psychological functions. Elevators trigger primal fears of enclosed spaces, falling, and loss of control that activate stress responses in many people. Background music provides auditory distraction that helps override these anxiety-inducing thoughts by giving your mind something else to process during the potentially stressful elevator experience. The specific tempo and style of traditional elevator music is carefully chosen to promote calm, relaxed states. Studies show that music between 60 to 80 beats per minute can slow heart rate and reduce cortisol levels. Elevator music typically uses this tempo range along with major keys and simple melodies that create feelings of safety and predictability. Muzak Corporation pioneered stimulus progression, the practice of playing slightly more energetic music during times when people naturally feel less alert, like mid-afternoon. This audio manipulation was designed to maintain consistent productivity and mood levels throughout the day in office buildings and retail environments. The acoustic properties of elevator cars create unique sound environments that make normal conversation difficult and amplify awkward silences. Background music masks these acoustic problems by providing consistent audio fill that makes the space feel more comfortable and reduces social tension between strangers. Elevator music serves as temporal distraction that makes short trips feel faster and longer trips feel shorter. The familiar, predictable nature of elevator music provides a sense of time structure that helps regulate perceived duration and reduces the anxiety associated with uncertain travel times. Different types of businesses use different elevator music styles to reinforce their brand identity and customer expectations. Luxury hotels might use classical or jazz, while medical buildings often choose particularly calm, non-stimulating instrumental pieces that reduce patient anxiety before appointments. Modern elevator systems increasingly use dynamic audio programming that adjusts music selection based on time of day, building occupancy levels, and even seasonal factors. Advanced systems can detect stress indicators like rapid button pressing or voice patterns and automatically adjust audio to provide more calming influences. The elevator music effect has expanded beyond elevators into many environments, where people experience brief periods of waiting or potential anxiety. Phone hold music, retail changing rooms, and medical waiting areas all use similar audio psychology principles to manage customer emotional states. 37. The hidden language of snoring. Your snoring isn't just noise. It's a complex acoustic signature that reveals detailed information about your health, sleep quality, and even emotional state. Sleep researchers can decode snoring patterns like a medical language that tells stories about what's happening inside your body. Different snoring sounds indicate different anatomical problems and sleep stages. Light, rhythmic snoring usually indicates minor soft tissue vibration, while loud, irregular snoring can signal serious airway obstruction. The pitch, volume, and rhythm of snores provide diagnostic information about nasal passages, throat muscle tone, and breathing efficiency. Snoring patterns change throughout the night as you cycle through different sleep stages. REM sleep typically produces the loudest, most irregular snoring because muscle relaxation is greatest during this stage. Deep sleep stages often produce more rhythmic, consistent snoring patterns that reflect steady breathing rhythms. Your sleeping position dramatically affects snoring characteristics because gravity influences how soft tissues settle in your throat. Back sleeping typically produces the loudest snoring, as the tongue and soft palate fall backward, while side sleeping often reduces snoring intensity and frequency by keeping airways more open. Snoring can indicate serious health risks, including sleep apnea, cardiovascular problems, and oxygen deprivation. Chronic loud snoring with breathing interruptions can reduce sleep quality so severely that it affects cognitive function, mood regulation, and long-term health outcomes, including increased risk of heart disease and stroke. Women and men tend to have different snoring patterns due to anatomical differences in throat structure and hormone effects on muscle tone. Women's snoring often becomes more prominent after menopause due to hormonal changes that affect soft tissue elasticity and muscle tone in the throat and airways. Age-related changes in muscle tone and tissue elasticity cause snoring to become more common and intense over time. The same anatomical factors that cause skin sagging also affect throat tissues, making snoring progressively worse with age, even in people who never snored when younger. Environmental factors like air humidity, allergens, and temperature can significantly influence snoring patterns. Dry air can increase tissue vibration and snoring intensity, while proper humidity levels may reduce snoring by keeping throat tissues more supple and less prone to vibration. Anti-snoring devices work through various mechanisms, including jaw positioning, tongue stabilization, or nasal airflow improvement. The effectiveness of different devices depends on the specific anatomical cause of individual snoring patterns, making personalized solutions more effective than universal approaches. 38. Why you can't tickle yourself. The inability to tickle yourself reveals fundamental truths about consciousness, self-awareness, and how your brain distinguishes between self-generated and external sensations. This simple limitation demonstrates sophisticated neural processes that protect you from sensory overload. Your brain has a specialized system called the cerebellum that predicts the sensory consequences of your own actions and cancels out self-generated sensations to prevent sensory confusion. When you touch yourself, your brain knows the touch is coming and automatically reduces your sensitivity to it, making self-tickling impossible. Tickling requires the element of surprise and unpredictability to trigger the tickle response. Your brain can perfectly predict when and where your own touch will occur, eliminating the surprise factor that's essential for tickling. This predictive system helps you focus on external, potentially important stimuli, rather than being distracted by your own movements. The tickle response is thought to be an evolutionary defense mechanism that alerts you to unexpected light touches that might indicate insects, parasites, or predators on your skin. Self-generated touches don't require this alert response, so your brain wisely filters them out to prevent constant false alarms. People with schizophrenia sometimes can tickle themselves because their brain's self-monitoring systems are disrupted. This breakdown in self-other distinction affects many aspects of perception and consciousness, and the ability to self-tickle serves as one indicator of how these fundamental neural processes can be altered by mental illness. Robotic arms controlled by your thoughts can sometimes tickle you because there's a slight delay between your intention and the robot's action. This delay is enough to disrupt your brain's predictive system and restore the element of surprise necessary for tickling, demonstrating how precisely timed these neural predictions are. Different body areas vary in ticklishness due to evolutionary importance and nerve density. Areas like feet and armpits are highly ticklish because they're vulnerable spots that would be important to protect from small creatures, while areas like your back are less ticklish because they're harder for small threats to access. The social aspect of tickling is as important as the physical sensation. Tickling typically occurs in playful social contexts and can strengthen social bonds through shared laughter and physical play. The social context influences how tickling is perceived. The same touch can be pleasant or unpleasant, depending on the relationship and situation. Some people are naturally more or less ticklish due to genetic differences in nerve sensitivity and brain processing. Anxiety and stress can also affect ticklishness because they influence how your nervous system processes and responds to unexpected sensations. 39. The science of getting lost. Getting lost isn't a failure of navigation. It's a fascinating breakdown of multiple brain systems that reveals how complex human spatial processing really is. Understanding why you get lost illuminates the remarkable mental processes that usually keep you oriented in space. Your brain creates mental maps using landmark recognition, path integration, and compass orientation systems working together. When any of these systems fails or provides conflicting information, you can become disoriented even in familiar environments. GPS technology has actually weakened these natural navigation abilities through disuse. Men and women tend to get lost differently due to variations in spatial processing strategies. Men often rely more heavily on geometric and compass-based navigation, while women typically use landmark-based navigation and environmental cues. Neither strategy is inherently superior, but they can fail under different conditions. Stress and anxiety significantly impair spatial navigation abilities by reducing working memory capacity and attention to environmental cues. When you're stressed about being lost, your navigation abilities actually get worse, creating a feedback loop that can turn minor disorientation into complete confusion. Your sense of direction can be disrupted by subtle environmental factors like magnetic fields, underground structures, or even certain types of architecture. Some buildings are intentionally designed to be disorienting, like casinos that remove windows and clocks to make people lose track of time and space. Age-related changes in spatial navigation often appear years before other cognitive decline symptoms. The hippocampus, which is crucial for spatial memory, is one of the first brain regions affected by aging and neurodegenerative diseases. Difficulty with familiar routes can be an early indicator of cognitive changes. Cultural differences in spatial language affect navigation abilities and how people get lost. Some languages use absolute directions, north-south, rather than relative directions, left-right, and speakers of these languages maintain better spatial orientation and are less likely to become disoriented in unfamiliar environments. Technology dependence has created a new phenomenon called GPS amnesia, where people lose the ability to form mental maps and become helpless without digital navigation aids. This over-reliance on technology can leave people more vulnerable to getting lost when devices fail or aren't available. Recovery from being lost often involves retracing your path to the last known location and rebuilding spatial confidence through familiar landmarks. The psychological aspects of being lost, panic, shame, and disorientation, can be as challenging as the actual navigation problem and require separate management strategies. 40. Why cold water feels hot. Sometimes cold water feels burning hot when you first touch it, revealing a fascinating quirk in your nervous system, where extreme sensations can fool your brain into experiencing their opposites. This thermal confusion demonstrates how your sensory systems can misinterpret intense stimuli. Your skin contains separate receptors for hot and cold temperatures, but extreme cold can paradoxically activate heat receptors through a phenomenon called paradoxical heat sensation. When cold temperatures are intense enough, they can trigger both cold and heat receptors simultaneously, creating confusing mixed signals. The initial shock of very cold water can cause blood vessels to constrict rapidly, temporarily reducing blood flow to temperature sensors in your skin. As these sensors adjust to reduce circulation, they can misinterpret the restoration of normal blood flow as a heat sensation, making cold water feel hot initially. Nerve pathways for hot and cold sensations travel different routes to your brain, and extreme stimuli can cause crosstalk between these pathways. When cold signals are intense enough, they can spill over into heat-sensing pathways, creating the illusion that you're experiencing heat instead of cold. This sensory confusion is more common in certain body parts like hands and feet, where temperature receptors are densely packed and blood flow changes are most dramatic. The fingertips, which have the highest density of temperature receptors, are most likely to experience this hot-cold confusion. Individual differences in receptor sensitivity and nerve pathway organization means some people experience thermal confusion more frequently than others. People with certain medical conditions affecting circulation or nerve function may be particularly prone to these mixed temperature sensations. The phenomenon can be dangerous because it might delay proper responses to harmful cold exposure. If your brain interprets dangerous cold as heat, you might not take appropriate protective actions quickly enough, potentially increasing risk of cold injury or frostbite. Similar confusion can occur in reverse, where extreme heat occasionally feels cold initially. This happens through similar mechanisms of receptor overload and cross-pathway activation, though it's less common than the cold to hot sensation, because heat receptors have different sensitivity patterns. Understanding this sensory quirk helps explain why people sometimes have delayed or inappropriate responses to extreme temperatures. The brief period of thermal confusion can affect decision-making and protective behaviors during the crucial first moments of temperature exposure.